You have to kill yourself in order to win the love back that you want. But the thing is, you're not willing to do that. And I guess that's okay because very few men are. And that is why over 50% of marriages end in divorce. And only 10% of men can save a marriage when the wife wants a divorce. So what separates the 90% from the 10%? That is what I'm going to share in the next few minutes. Because once you are able to do the 4 things I talk about today, you will see an immediate and major shift in your marriage. She will respect you more, she'll speak to you differently, and she'll tap back into that woman that you thought was gone for good. Let's talk about the big problem first. Ego is the enemy. Ryan Holiday says in his book, ego is the enemy of what you want and of what you have, of mastering a craft or real creative insight, of working well with others, of building loyalty and support. Ego repulses these things with ease. Being a man means a lot of things, right? But more than any, I would argue, it means self-sacrifice. I mean, David Goggins puts it pretty well.
22!
Who's gonna carry the boats and the logs?
That's you, buddy!
So the question is, what are you actually sacrificing? We sacrifice our time, our energy, our resources, and most importantly, you have to sacrifice your sense of self in order to serve the better good, the people you love. This means letting go of who you think you are and trusting God that you are meant for more. But we have to talk about what the ego's main role and goal in life is. You see, your ego is a self-protective mechanism. What this means is that its ultimate goal, your ultimate goal in your subconscious brain, which controls 97% of what you do, what you think, and who you are, it's not happiness, it's to survive. Therefore, in situations that threaten you, it will retreat and protect. Now, this will show up in conversation with her through excuses, defensiveness, logic, avoidance. Your ego says, I'm safe. I don't care that I'm pushing her away. She's a threat right now to me. So the next logical question is, how does she threaten you? She does it through the tests. She tests you by pulling away, withdrawing, using apathy, criticizing you, defending against you, shutting you out, talking to another guy, and not reassuring you. Essentially, she challenges every aspect of who you are as a man. By the way, I have an exact framework on how to pass all of her tests with ease. It's one of the most powerful videos on the channel. I'll show you at the very end of this one how to access that. But my good friend the other day, we're talking about the idea of tests. Why women test, no matter what there is, like if there's peace in your house, she'll open the window to bring in the wind, right? Just to cause a little bit of chaos. But here's why she does this. Let me read the quote. She's a reflection of you. What she mirrors is a part of you. She couldn't trigger you if there wasn't one to pull. Let me say that again. She couldn't trigger you if there wasn't one to pull. Reflect on what she's bringing up in you. Be curious. Give God praise. Lead accordingly. And it's so funny because I recently had a podcast with the Tired Dad. You can check him out on Instagram. And one of the first things that he said was how what causes marriages to fall apart is ego.
When you stop working on how you guys fell in love in the first place, yeah, you can get complacent. And then a lot of it, I always say this, is ego. A lot of it was my ego. I think that's a big thing with husbands and men in general is they can take offense to what their wives are doing and take it personal when it's really they're going through something, you know?
So the question for this video is, how do you overcome your ego? Well, this video is going to show you 4 ways to do so. And one of the first ways, the only first way, is to identify her role in it all. You see, she is your oracle. A woman is an oracle. If a man has the ears to hear and the heart to feel, she will reveal everything he needs to know about himself and his capacity to love. She is his mirror, reflecting his strength, integrity, and clarity, or revealing his weakness, fear, and confusion. As a thought experiment, let's say you're up in heaven. You walk up to God and say, in this life, I want humility, patience, and compassion. So God says, all right, I'm going to give you arrogance, those who will annoy you constantly, and a wife that makes it hard for her to love. You see, you cannot grow and you cannot gain these qualities in yourself to achieve the love you want without being challenged. Calm seas never made a good sailor. So recognize in her, she is giving you a gift through the challenge. Through the conflict, there is a truth in there that she is trying to show you through her challenge. And your ego doesn't want you to see that because that means you have to change. The question is, how does she challenge your ego? She tests your integrity through boundaries. She will often set boundaries or voice expectations to see if you will respect them. This challenges you to become more self-aware, empathetic, and disciplined. When you honor these boundaries, it demonstrates your ability to act with integrity and respect. The second way is encouraging emotional vulnerability. Now, she will often seek deeper emotional connection, prompting you to express your feelings openly. This pushes you to move beyond surface-level communication and explore the depth of emotions between you two. She will hold you accountable to your words. She'll often remember what you say and hold you accountable to promises. This challenges you to be consistent, reliable, and follow through on commitments. I'm actually going to pause on that one right here because I'm currently dealing with a client who is really struggling with this idea. His wife forced him, essentially, his words, forced him to make a promise that he knew he couldn't keep. Now, he wanted to keep the promise, but deep down, he didn't want to upset her. So he appeased to her. Instead of saying, hey, I don't think I can do that, that's not fair, and holding true to his values and boundaries, he said, okay, I'll do my best. And he broke that promise inevitably. And now she will not let it go because he's the one that said through his word that he would do that. Your words and actions must align. You must have an honor, a code as a man for her to trust you. She will also mirror your behavior. She will mirror your energy, your commitment, your emotional stability. She serves as a reflection of your own growth in areas of needing improvement. This can challenge you to become more conscious of your actions and their effects. And she will demand leadership and initiative. She will express a desire for you to take the lead in certain areas, whether in planning, decision-making, or guiding the relationship forward. This challenges you to embrace responsibility and demonstrate confidence. I mean, pretty much every single guy here can admit that they were complacent in their marriage, that they stopped taking the lead, that they said, you know, we're just going to go through the motions day by day. I'm at peace. I'm happy. Everything's good. She wants forward, as much as you want forward progress in your career, she wants it in the relationship. The first step is that you initiated physical romance and desire. So what's the next step for her? It's going deeper and saying, oh, we're committed. We're boyfriend and girlfriend, monogamous. Now we're going to get married. Now we're having kids. But after the kids, things oftentimes get worse, don't they? For most men, it got worse after the kids. Is it because the kids are stressful? No, it's because you stopped taking the relationship forward. You didn't have a roadmap or a blueprint how to gain more depth of commitment and devotion and growth within the relationship context. And that's what she responded to, not because there was more stress. Now, the most unfortunate thing about your ego is that it's almost impossible to see. It's like this thing behind you that no matter where you turn, we talk about shadow work here a lot in this channel. Shadows comprise your ego. It's your subconscious brain. It's the things that you don't recognize, but there is a process and pattern to become aware of that. Let me share through a story. Now, if you asked Derek a few months ago how he planned on tackling his ego, he would have brushed it off with a smirk. Ego, look, I'm far from perfect, he'd say, but my wife just needs to stop complaining so much. All that changed the day he came into the home to find a note on his counter. His wife had packed her bags and she left for her sisters. She really did it, he muttered, staring at the note. He thought back to their last argument when she said, you never listen. I feel like I don't matter to you. He dismissed her, pointing out all the things he did for the family. Now those words echoed in his head. Days turned into weeks and Derek couldn't shake the nagging thought. What if she was right? Then one night over drinks with his best friend, Derek vented his frustration. She said, I don't listen. I don't know, man. I've given her everything. His friend cracked a joke, but then got serious for a moment. He said, have you ever just thought what she needed? That simple. But the question lingered. For the first time, Derek began reflecting on her complaints, the late nights at work when she asked for more time, the moments where she tried to open up was only met with solutions instead of understanding. He started to see a pattern in himself, not her faults, but his. Now he was questioning everything he thought he knew about himself and their marriage. Determined to make things right, Derek reached out to his wife. He admitted how blind he'd been, how he dismissed her needs and failed to listen. It wasn't an easy conversation and didn't fix everything overnight, but it did open the door. Derek did not stop there. He took action. He started showing up in ways that mattered, sharing his feelings honestly, making space for hers, and trying to be less defensive all the time. Through constant personal inner work, he stopped seeing her complaints as attacks and instead as mirrors reflecting what he needed to do to change, to grow, to become the man she needed. It wasn't easy, but over time, his wife began to notice the changes. The man who once dismissed her was now leaning in, listening, and stepping up. For the first time in years, she felt seen. Now, before we dive into the ability to identify and eliminate aspects of your ego, let's first look at a mindset shift that can be tremendously helpful. Limerence opens the door to possibility. Tony Robbins once said, if you act like it's the first day you got married, then it'll never be the last. When you first fell in love, it showed a glimpse of the type of connection that you could have with her. You saw the best in her, not the worst. Her actions were seen through a positive lens. You were trying to constantly impress her. You wanted to be the best man you could be for her. And you thought about her constantly, nonstop, when you would just see her again. There was this desire without attachment, without need, just wanting to give value and love to her. But you see, your emotions are created and then they follow into actions, but your actions can create emotions. This is even shown through studies. There was a study done on happiness, right? The key study, there was participants where they were given a small amount of money, either $5 to $20, and randomly assigned to spend it on either themselves or others. Buying a gift or a donation, it didn't matter. They then reported their happiness levels afterwards. Those who spent money on others reported significantly higher happiness levels than those who spent it on themselves. And it was regardless of the amount. This is known as pro-social behavior, generating emotions towards others, giving others being of service. Because when you get outside of yourself, that selfishness is what causes the pain, the neediness. Everything that rejects her is because of selfish intentions, which is what your ego ultimately needs. And so when you take action that goes against your ego, that's serving others, not even through your wife, right? But giving without anything in return. Because the idea of a covert contract we talk a lot about is giving her, but you want something in return. She feels that. So being able to be full yourself, not needing anything from her, that's what produces the attraction paradox of wanting her but not needing her. The study underscores how actions can shape emotions and self-concept by showing that behaving generously, it enhances both mood and one's sense of identity as a caring and connected individual. There'll be another video at the end of this one, by the way, that Tony Robbins tells a story that put me in tears when I listened to it. So now that we understand the ego, how your wife points it out in you, and the role it plays, let's finally learn how to integrate it. The first thing you need to do is to identify the victim. The victim is the entry point into where the ego lives. Think of the last time you had a fight. What was it about? What did you feel? What was the story you were telling yourself on why she had to change, not you? Where were you giving your power away? Then as a thought experiment, I want you to flip the script, okay? What this means is create a world in your mind, just for a second, to say that, what if everything that happened to me, I created? It was my fault. If this was the case in that scenario, how would it be true? Just write out how that is true, just as a thought experiment. I don't care what she did or who influenced her behavior. Just write that out. Step number 3 is to take the fear and transmute it into love. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. You see, what the ego does, what the victim does, is that whenever you're in a situation, it thinks, how am I being affected? What do I need from this? It is a selfish motive, as we talked about before. So all you have to do, because that's a subconscious automatic process, use your consciousness, your power, your gift of focus and attention and ability to change your thoughts and think, okay, this is what I don't want. This is what I'm afraid of. So conversely, what do I want? So as an extreme example to prove the point, let's say your wife is having an emotional affair with someone, okay? Some guys deal with this. In that situation, it's pretty clear what you don't want. You don't want her to have the emotional affair turn physical. You don't want her to fall in love with this guy. You don't want her to abandon you. But if you operate from that function in your brain when you're interacting with her, when you're texting her, when you're on the phone call with her, she can feel the fear in your voice, the holding back, the selfish intentions, right? Not thinking about how you led there, how it's her fault, how she's doing this to you. Instead, what if for a second you said, what do I want from this? I want her back. Not what you don't want, but what you do want. I want loyalty. I want honesty. And you see, when you focus on what you want in the relationship, I know it seems like it's such a simple shift, but that is the answer here, to focus on what you want. And the thing is, the way it goes against, I know it seems like even what you want is selfish, but you're creating a positive response because of what you want is honesty. If what you want is love, she wins from that. But the way you interact with her in the negative of saying what you don't want in terms of the lack of loyalty or whatever it is, it's attacking her, where it's me versus you. But when you focus on what you want through love and connection, it creates that win-win relationship where you get your needs met, but so does she. Step number 4 is not what do you have to do to get what you want, but who do you have to become? Thomas Jefferson said, to get what you've never had, you must be willing to do what you've never done. You see, the ego is never satisfied. It comes from a place of lack. And so therefore, it looks outside of itself in the environment to fill an emotional void. This makes you become needy and it repulses what we want. Whereas the apex man feels abundance. They are full. So they give fully without expectation and they receive what they want. This is a simple process to overcome your ego, but it's not easy. Where it's difficult is the blindness. Where it's difficult is overcoming the emotions, right? You're a smart man, but when it comes to emotions in the situation, it's almost like you are stunted in your development. You can't think clearly. And that's why it's so powerful to get help. Because if you had the same situation with yourself, but you were getting it from a friend, you could tell them exactly what to do, but your emotions cause you to be conflicted, right? Is it even best to be with her? Should you put the work in? What if you do all this work and then she pulls away? This is why it is important to get outside help from an expert, someone who has had thousands of calls of situations like yours. I know you feel that yours is unique, but just getting on the call for 5 minutes with our team, you can see automatically where you are blind, where you haven't seen the correct answer. And getting that coaching, it leads to so much value. So right now, click the link down below, set up a call with our team. Okay, the call is free, but make sure you're fully committed. All right, thanks for watching the video. Here is the video on tests and the Tony Robbins video. Smash like if you like the video, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.